Peace. I was listening to Zaza Ali few days ago, and it was an older post, and she made the comment that I thought was like, I was in the tub while I was listening to her, and I was having this soak, and I tried my best to like clear my mind, and I had began doing something, but the conversation was just so and it was just so intelligent, and she was hitting on so many points that I'm like, I'm not gonna put on like meditation music. I'm gonna listen to this full video while I'm taking my bath. And Zaza Ali, I don't know her personally, but I do know she's a Scorpio, and Scorpio women, um, I've really always gotten along pretty well with Scorpio women, but they don't mess around. Scorpio women do not mess around at all. And she was going in, and she was talking about, various things that have gone on, Breonna Taylor. And she made this point that I thought was very profound. She said, do we live in a culture where a woman has to prove herself to be worthy of protection? And I thought about that. Like, I had to pause, like, whoa, it's a great question. Like, does a woman have to prove herself to be worthy of protection? Because a lot of times when someone comes up missing, or something happens that everybody's now mourning in the streets and things like that, there were a lot of not just like red flags. There were a lot of like cries for help prior to that. A lot of people kind of had a idea of what was going on prior to that, and it's constantly women that their cries are ignored. Their cries for help are ignored. And I I recently stumbled upon some information that I haven't fact checked, that said that the highest rise in suicides are women of a certain background, specifically. Um, and so I just, I'm like, man, like but so I have taken a very unique path, in the sense of I have busted up extraordinary discipline, and the lifestyle that I lead, most people would probably find a little bit peculiar, but it's very much a response to what I've become aware of. And when you dig into research and you see things that are going on around you, and you see that certain things are played out, but then you have another bit of awareness that makes you know that none of these things are just coincidental. There are a lot. There is an attack on the mother. There's an attack on women. There's a deliberate, tactical, strategic attack on women right now. Women are under attack. And the attack on women is not exclusively done by men. There are women that are used as pawns to attack other women, but women are under extreme and extraordinary attack. Why? When you look at the skulls, you see a lot of people with like these skulls. People will have like the skulls tatted on them, things like that. What does the skull represent? The skull represents death culture. What is death culture? Death culture is anti-life culture. So Elijah Muhammad was quoted saying that these very wicked, nefarious people would rather destroy the planet than to give up their power. And so what we're watching unfold when we watch this attack of Mother Nature is just that. people who realize that their time is up. And what that means is that they're going to have to give up their power. And to them, that's a non-option. They would rather destroy the world. You see our water, you see even nothing is sacred anymore. Even at one period of time, even the mafia, the underground market, the black market, the kingpins said no women, no children. They even had like some sense of like moral guidelines. Like as ruthless as they might have been, they said no women, no children. Nothing is sacred. The children are under attack. Women are under attack. Nothing is sacred anymore. And the issue is that when people had an opportunity to examine certain things, well, okay, how did this world become this way? The same people that are so desperate to cling on to their power have been the people who have been in power. And so what has your leadership led to? If your leadership has led to contamination of our water system, our ecosystem, terrible air, extraordinary fear, addiction, mental health crises, women unprotected, children unprotected, mass incarceration, what makes you think that you are fit to continue to lead? But specifically, I want to briefly touch on the fact that the mother is under attack because the mother is symbolic of the continuation of life. Women have a womb. That's the main difference between us and men. We are womb mans. We are women. We have a womb. And we have fertility. We represent the continuation of life. So in a death culture, when we represent the continuation of life, we are under extraordinary attack. Because the powers that be would rather destroy the planet than to relinquish their power. And unbeknownst to many of you, everything has a time. Everything has a time span. So there's a time span that certain people are in place to rule. And there's a time span where other people are in place to rule. And when certain people who have been traditionally in place to rule, when they are aware that their time is up, they go to great and desperate lengths to cling on to their power. So this is what this whole thing, all of the devastation that we're seeing, this is really what this whole thing is about. And with the result of the attack on the woman, the attack on specifically the mother, because what I've recognized is if you are not somebody who is interested in procreating and things like that, you don't pose that much of a threat to death culture or the annihilation of human beings or the genocide of man. You don't pose that much of a threat because you're not continuing life. If you don't express the desire to have children and to repopulate the earth, then you are pretty much, when you go, that's the end of your legacy. But if you are somebody who is procreating and you're repopulating the earth, you are a direct threat to death culture. And because the mother has been under such attack, there have been various ways that women have responded to this attack. Many women have said that the forces that come against them are just too much, so they submit. What is this? What does submission look like? It comes in various forms. Submission is the escort, is the call girl, is the prostitute. Submission is the docile, go along to get along. Some people may even say like the mammy archetype or whatever. Submission is the playing stupid. Submission is the not stepping up to really your power. Submission is, assisting those in deaf culture. Submission is aligning yourself or allying with those who have, sworn and vowed to attack women. These people, ultimately, they don't want to deal with what reality looks like if you resist. But what they fail to understand, and it's really comes down to a lack of faith, because they put more faith in man, they put more faith in the power of these very nefarious, wicked people than they do in our Creator. And so when it comes time for the changing of the guards, they will not be selected because they failed their tests. You have, when we talk about, I believe the video that I was watching had something to do with toxic femininity. And a lot of women have a lot of residue and trauma from relationships with our mothers. And to be fair and balanced, with understanding like that the mother is under attack, the psychological damage that growing up in America or raising children in America can incur on an individual is traumatic. And what is oftentimes required from a minuscule or myopic perspective, but what they believe is required is a certain level of ruthlessness in order to survive. And a lot of people adapt to that ruthlessness. When people talk about, women aren't feminine anymore, what happened to the love songs, and why is the music changed? Why is the music so hostile? You know what I mean? It's so hostile. Well, a lot of women do believe that they are under attack by men. A lot of women are creating music from that consciousness, thinking that men are the enemy. A lot of women can attribute a lot of their the most pain, the most hurt that they felt is from men. The most betrayal that they felt is from men. But specifically talking about the maternal, the mother, what I've seen play out oftentimes is there will be a mother who has such resentment and animosity towards the father of her children or her husband or her ex-husband that she will take out her rage on his children, especially his daughter. And if she's a daddy's girl, and every single time that girl is around her, all she can think of is the father, and the girl is always talking about her father, and the girl loves so much love for her father. You have situations where the mother is jealous of that child because that child gets the love that the father would never give to her, and sets out to ruin and destroy her life. And Hadith says that paradise is at the foot of your mother. And we have a culture that also like very much reveres and respect, like to respect thy mother is like a big, 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 big deal. Like respect your mother. Even in some parts of West Africa, you see them, they bow to the mother, they bow to the grandmother, they bow. It's so sacred, the role of the mother. But the Hadith says that also you don't obey your mother, you don't obey your parent if they tell you to do things that are against the deen. So basically, if your mother is like a Satanist, so like a devil worshiper, and you're a Muslim, you shouldn't. You just got to dismiss that relationship in its entirety. Write it off. That's a kafir. That's a non-believer. That's somebody that's not gonna. I'll speak specifically. I'm very careful about the words that I use when I talk about my mother. And what I found is that you can have amazing qualities in one category. And my mother is an intellect. If you look at her bookshelf, the books that she's read, she's been hip for a very long time. Very intelligent. Can talk about anything under the sun, from numerology to astrology. put me up on so many things, you know, invested in my education, knows a lot about education, knows so much. Education is so important to her. Her strength is she's stronger than anybody that I know. She can cook better than anybody that I know. But I was told by somebody that I was cool with formerly, a Scorpio woman, that my problem was that my mother was attempting to sabotage me and undermine me. And she had been doing this clandestinely for a very, 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 very long time. And being African, you know, it's kind of an interesting dynamic with a lot of Africans, especially West Africans, where you'll see Africans in the church, but they're also like practicing, you know, African spirituality, all these things, which may seem kind of contradictory to some Christians, but this is kind of like the culture. I'm a straight shooter. I don't do any of those things. I'm not into going behind people's backs and trying to plot or trying to plan or whatever. But I began to put some things together. There was an individual who was an executive at the airport that I used to work at. And before I worked there, my mother worked there. I believe he got me the job there. I met him seemingly coincidentally, but now I'm kind of thinking that the whole thing might have been orchestrated behind my back. And what I'll say, I'll speak vaguely, right? I'll say this. When I hear some of these girls' stories, like some women who are strippers, or some women who may sell their bodies, I've heard on numerous occasions that they pay their mom's bills, they pay their mom's car note, they take care of their mother, which is a beautiful thing. But oftentimes it's the mother that pushed them into that lifestyle for the purpose of being able to take care of them. So they select a child, basically, who they may feel like is appealing in some kind of way, whatever it is, whatever their skill set is, or perhaps that child has a certain look to them. Perhaps certain people are attracted to that child. And a mother who is unbalanced, a mother who is a ruthless capitalist, or like very money hungry, you have a lot of mothers who pimp their daughters. A lot of mothers who look at their daughters as the come up. And especially in third world countries where, you know, it's people live very, very, very poor. You have a lot of mothers who are pimping their children, and their children are how the family eats and the family survives. And so this is not uncommon for somebody to look at you as a come up and literally be leeching off of you, leeching off of what it is that you feel like you can provide to them. And so I don't like to speak accusatory or speculatory, but this was, you know, an insight that I received from somebody that said that that there were things that were going on behind my back clandestinely, that if I was curious as to why, you know, I have this talent, I'm a dancer, I'm a songwriter, I do all these things, and why things weren't manifesting. You know, I moved to Cali and I moved different places, and, you know, I was talking to a spiritual guy. He said, you should have access, like, with the talent that you have and all these things that you bring to the world, you should be able to be like, it should be like that. You should homes in different places and all these things. Have you wondered why there's a lack of manifestation, relationships and things like that? Have you wondered why? And I was advised by certain people who I believe, you know, are very, very intelligent, very spiritual people, that it behooves you to take the front seat of your life, and the front seat of your life is driven by accountability and personal responsibility. So I said, you know, it's true, the fact that, like, there were times where I was a knucklehead. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but, you know, I wasn't always the woman that I am today. I've made poor decisions, and I've had my fair share of having fun. I'll put it that way, of partying and things. So I always took personal responsibility for, lack of manifestation, because I had I applied myself and taken things more seriously, then maybe, but I found out, and this is not to take away from my personal part in it, because I played a huge part in it, but I found out that there were a lot of things that were going on behind my back clandestinely. And this was one of the main reasons that the last post that I posted on here was backstabbers. This was one of the main fuels, just thinking about my life, that I wrote this song Backstabbers, because it was people that were very close to me. And the maternal role is usually a protector, a nurturer. Parents are usually like the groomers and the ones who are like governing the child and making sure that the child is okay, protecting that child. And something happens, they try to conceal things or hide things and like make sure that their image is right. But you got some mothers who are the main culprits of trying to ruin somebody's reputation, ruin somebody's image, make someone look bad, and for purposes that could be very, very sinister. Very, very, very sinister. You've got parents that sell their kids to the black market. You've got parents, I'm here in DC, that are in cahoots with the elites, trying to pimp their child, trying to pimp their grandchildren, trying to do all types of things. So, I'm not here with that being said, I understand that the God that I serve is all-knowing, all-seeing, and all-hearing. So you can't outsmart God, you can't out-trick God or anything like that. But in order to heal and in order to preserve your peace, if it appears as if a relationship that you have with a specific individual is more of a hindrance, an obstacle, presents more challenges than necessary, you are allowed to opt out of that relationship. You can say, for the purpose of my prosperity, for the purpose of my longevity, for the purpose of my peace of mind, for the purpose of my sanity, for the purpose of my health, my mental health, for the purpose of my love life, for the purpose of my survival, you are one of the main people that is sending some really dark energy into my life. I was listening to something that said Malcolm X was being watched for weeks before the assassination. I was like, weeks? That's it? Try years. Try being stalked and followed for years. Try every job, people tracing you, getting you fired, trying to pimp you, every place that you go, being stalked, trying to pimp you. Try it. So everything has a time period. Everything has an expiration date. Your suffering is not forever. Right now, your God is taking note of every single thing that you do and everything that's going on around you, and your suffering is not forever. The shackles that the shaitan try to have on you, that's not forever. Your entanglement is not forever. And no matter how much power that person has, you cannot outsmart, you cannot outthink, you cannot out clever or outwit the Almighty. And so I say this with a sense of humility and a sense of like, I've been wrong before, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. People are petrified and paranoid to know what you know. They want to even tap into your mind. They want to like read your mind and know what you know. I have to know what you know. I have to know what you know. I need to know where you're going. I need to know all that stuff. I'm here to tell you, ease your mind. You don't have to be fearful. You don't have to be worried. Ease your mind. That's them of a little faith. Because they rely on man, you rely on God. So that's them of little faith. That's them with a lack mentality, a scarcity mentality. Imagine you see somebody and you feel like you got to pimp that person, or you got to use that person, you got to set that person up for your own come up. What does that mean? You don't bring any skills to the table? You're willing to cut your own child short for a come up. You're willing to lie to the end and be deceitful for a come up, for some material things that we can't even take with us. That's how low it's gotten. That's how bad it's gotten for you. So we put our faith in the Creator. The Creator is the big brother. I wrote an article about this. I might post a link on my website. It's called The All-Seeing Eye. Our Creator is the All-Seeing Eye. Our Creator has a scribe assigned to us from the time we are born, writing down every single thing we do, every single action, everything we say. The angel of scribe, monitoring angels. We are never alone. There's always spirits that we can't see. They see everything, they hear everything, no matter, even if the conversation is done telepathically, they know. So what do you have to worry about? It's those that aren't right with God that got to sleep with one eye open. They got to be so petrified and paranoid about what you know. It doesn't matter what I know. It matters what God knows. It matters what the Creator knows. And this is how you're able to have a certain ease of mind. How do you be solution oriented? I mean, it's not up to me to determine if it's too late, if people are too far gone, but specifically with a mother who is using her children for her come up, lying about it and like trying to like gaslight the kids or things like that is definitely not gonna alleviate your circumstance or your situation, because these are spiritual matters. And understand that the judge is God. God is the judge. Anyways, y'all, peace.